First of all, thank you all for helping this channel grow. We truly appreciate the support. Making these documentaries isn't easy. We do weeks, sometimes months of research. None of the narrator lines is copied from any website. All the lines were written by us. Thank you.
You're watching the Birdman Story. Sit back and relax. Birdman is the co-CEO of Cash Money Records, which was founded in 1991 by him and his older brother Slim. Cash Money Records are now one of the most successful record labels in history, selling over 1 billion records. The label managed to stay relevant for over 2 decades. Huge rap stars such as Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, and Drake were all a part of Cash Money Records. Birdman is the face of Cash Money. His flamboyant style is what attracted a lot of people to the label. He took flossing to another level. The cars, the jewelry, the women were all a part of the label's image. Slim had the master plan, but Birdman had the vision. This is his story. Bryan Christopher Brooks, also known as Baby, was born on February 15, 1969, at Charity Hospital in New Orleans, Louisiana, to Johnny Williams and Gladys Brooks. Baby wasn't named until he was home from the hospital. For weeks, everyone called him Baby Brooks. At the time, he was the youngest of all his siblings. His father already had 4 kids in Kansas City and was married before moving to New Orleans and meeting Gladys. Johnny and Gladys had 4 children together: Kim, Ronald, Marie, and Baby. His father was an ex-military man and a hustler. Not only was he a realtor and owned a grocery store and a bar, he was a number runner, a gambler, and a loan shark as well. Baby mother Gladys ran Johnny's bar located on Saratoga Street. The bar was a local hangout spot for drug dealers, drug users, gamblers, pimps, and prostitutes. The bar stayed open 24 hours a day. Gladys was well known and loved in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, she passed away on January 21, 1975. She was only 39 years old. A 5-year-old Baby and his siblings were then placed in foster care because their father didn't sign any of their birth certificates. While living under foster care, Baby's uncle takes him, Slim, his nephew, and sister to Prince George, Canada, to stay with him for a while. In the late 70s, Baby father won back custody of him and his siblings after a long fight with the court. Baby, along with his siblings, moved back on Saratoga Street. Their father was now married to a lady by the name of Patricia, who already had 2 children of her own. The family lived in a 2-bedroom apartment upstairs of Gladys' bar. Around this time, Baby and Slim last names were changed from Brooks to Williams. Baby's older sister Marie took her son and moved somewhere out of town. Patricia had a son who was around Baby's age by the name of Eldrick Wise. Baby and Eldrick became very close. Slim was known to be very quiet and very respectful. He enjoyed playing basketball, skating, and riding knee bikes at the time. People say he was always thinking. One night, Gladys' bar was almost robbed and Johnny was shot when he was wrestling on the ground with a gunman. He survived the gunshot and was quickly released from the hospital. Johnny was known to be a tough man who didn't take crap from anyone. Gladys' bar was becoming a dangerous environment for the kids. Johnny and Patricia then moved the family into a nice home on Valence Street. The Williams family didn't struggle like most black families in New Orleans. Johnny was a very wealthy man, but that didn't stop Baby and Eldrick from running the streets. Eldrick was known to be wild. He was a huge LL Cool J fan and even began calling himself Ladies Love Eldrick. By the mid-80s, Baby and his stepbrother Eldrick were running the streets. They were now dealing crack cocaine. A few of their childhood friends and even family members lived up the street in the Magnolia Projects. The Magnolia was the biggest projects in New Orleans. During the crack era, millions of dollars were being made in the Magnolia. Baby and Eldrick ran a crack house blocks from the Magnolia Projects. The windows of the house were barred, and they served customers through a hole at the door. The crack house was a one-stop shop. They had whatever the customers wanted: crack, pot, and even heroin. Baby also had guys in the Magnolia working for him at the time. He began buying cars and jewelry. By the age 16, Baby had owned several vehicles. He kept them all parked blocks away from home so his parents wouldn't see them. Baby, Eldrick, and their crew were making a lot of money. Although Baby and Eldrick were running the streets, their parents still made them attend school. While other students carried backpacks, Baby carried a briefcase. He took school very serious, but decided to drop out his senior year. Baby became very popular in the neighborhood. He had family and friends all throughout New Orleans. In total, Baby has 22 siblings, 10 brothers and 12 sisters. Slim wasn't in the streets like Baby and Eldrick. He hung out with a small circle of friends, but he mostly stayed under Johnny. Baby and Eldrick ran the crack house for over a year. In 1987, the police raided the crack house. Baby and Eldrick were both arrested. Over $80,000 was taken by the police but never reported. Eldrick and Baby were both charged with guns and drug possession. They were bonded out by Johnny and Patricia days later. The St. Thomas Projects was known for making big money. Customers could go there to get anything from a nickel bag to a few kilos. While out on bond, Baby and Eldrick decided to go to the St. Thomas Projects to score a package of drugs. Losing that $80,000 was a major loss for the teenagers. They needed more drugs to sell to make it back. After buying the drugs from someone in St. Thomas Projects, the two gets rushed by the police leaving the apartment. The two were arrested and sentenced to 6 years in the Lane Hunt Correctional Center. While serving time, Baby began reading the Bible for the first time in his life. He became aware of the spiritual part of life. According to Baby, jail was his college. Baby and Eldrick both made parole and was released after serving 18 months. Baby and Eldrick both jumped back into the streets. This time they went even harder and made way more money. A whole lot of violence took place in the city. In New Orleans, killing was like a sport. Over 300 murders took place in 1990, and 345 more murders the following year. The Magnolia Projects was the biggest projects in New Orleans. The projects was filled with killers. A guy by the name of Eric Maurice was really feared in the neighborhood. He was allegedly a stone-cold killer who robbed and extorted people. The Magnolia Projects was a dangerous place. At the time, they were cool with the Calliope Projects. The Calliope Projects was filled with killers as well. They were considered the worst projects in New Orleans at the time. Baby and his family were popular in the Magnolia. Not only was him and his siblings very close, they all had a small circle of friends. It's no secret that Baby and his crew participated in some of the violence that took place in the city. Baby and Eldrick both were now huge targets for the local stick-up kids. Baby was even almost killed during a robbery attempt back in '91. In June of 1991, Baby's stepbrother Eldrick was shot and killed. He was found dead on someone's doorstep. The case remains unsolved. Baby was heartbroken. Not only was Eldrick his stepbrother, the two were best friends. After losing Eldrick, Baby knew that it was time for a change. He decided to start a record label with his older brother Slim. In January of '91, the classic film New Jack City had came to theaters. After watching the movie a few times, Baby decided to call his crew C.M.B, meaning Cash Money Brothers, and named the record label Cash Money Records. Bounce music was becoming popular in nightclubs all over New Orleans in the early 90s. Baby and Slim began searching for rappers to sign to the label. Baby had connections everywhere in New Orleans. He hung out in most of the projects, including the Magnolia, the Melfomine Projects, and St. Thomas Projects. In 1992, they signed their first artist, a 15-year-old who went by the name Kilo G. Kilo G recorded and released a horrorcore album by the name of Sleepwalker. Unfortunately, the album only sold a few thousand copies. Baby and Slim then signed more up-and-coming artists in New Orleans such as Miss T, Lil Slim, and a group by the name of UNLV, meaning Uptown and Living Violent. UNLV was consist of Lilia, Tech 9, and Yellow Boy. The three started off being positive rappers and went by the name the Sporty MCs in the late 80s. After being inspired by a local rapper by the name of Everlasting Hitman, the group changed their name and began making gangster music. They signed to Cash Money Records and released their debut album titled 6 and Baranya in 1993. Around this time, Baby had met a local DJ and producer by the name of Manny Fresh. Manny Fresh grew up in the 7th Ward. At the age 15, Manny Fresh became the DJ for a local hip-hop group by the name of New York Incorporated in 1984. In the late 80s, Manny Fresh became the DJ of a local rapper by the name of MC Gregory D, and the two would release multiple albums together before breaking up in '93. Manny Fresh became Cash Money Records and house producer. At the time, Baby paid him $500 a beat. Cash Money now had their own sound. Manny Fresh had some of the best beats in New Orleans. Cash Money continued dropping albums. Baby began going by the name B32. In 1993, he released his debut album titled I Need a Bag of Dope. Baby raps about selling and using heroin throughout the album. Heroin was the #1 drug in New Orleans. Some of the biggest drug dealers were using at the time. Kids as young as 12 was even abusing the drug. The I Need a Bag of Dope album was loved by the local addicts. Around this time, Baby and Slim signed a local rapper by the name of Pimp Daddy. Weeks after releasing his debut album Still Pimpin' in 1994, Pimp Daddy was shot and killed. He was only 18 years old. The murder remains unsolved. Pimp Daddy was allegedly dating label mate Miss T at the time. The story is that Pimp Daddy was in an argument with Miss T's brother when he was shot and killed. Pimp Daddy's album Still Pimpin' was huge in New Orleans. Many call the album a local classic. Pimp Daddy took bounce music to another level. Misty signed to Cash Money at the age 14. Her debut album Having Things was a big deal in New Orleans. According to Misty, Baby bought her a car and set her up an apartment. Misty was pregnant at the time. Cash Money was now a popular and successful independent label. They were huge in New Orleans. This around the time Baby met a 14-year-old MC by the name of Christopher Dorsey, later known as BG. Baby and Slim took a liking to BG. BG had just lost his father, so Baby moved him in his home and signed him to Cash Money Records. UNLV had become very popular in New Orleans as well. Their 1995 album Mac Melf Calio is considered an underground classic. UNLV was Cash Money's biggest artist at the time. Lil Slim introduced a 12-year-old Lil Wayne to Baby and Slim. Lil Wayne signed to the label shortly after. Lil Wayne grew up uptown in the Holly Grove neighborhood. He was raised by his mother Jacida and her boyfriend Reginald McDonald, also known as Rabbit. Rabbit was a well-known hustler. He moved the family from the Holly Grove neighborhood to East New Orleans. Shortly after signing to Cash Money, Lil Wayne decided to play with Rabbit's .44 Magnum handgun while writing raps. He takes the magazine out of the gun and pulls the trigger. Lil Wayne accidentally shot himself in the chest. He was rushed to the hospital and ended up being placed on life support for 2 weeks. Just Sitta decided to keep Lil Wayne away from Cash Money Records. For a while, Wayne wasn't allowed around Baby and Slim. Juvenile was already a popular underground artist in New Orleans. He was with Warlock Records and released his debut album Being Myself in 1995. Juvenile grew up in the Magnolia Projects and was well known. Baby and Slim seen Juvenile's potential and immediately signed him after the flop of Being Myself. By the age of 15, BG was addicted to heroin. BG, short for Baby Gangster, was a stage name BG came up with inspired by a guy from the Magnolia Projects. Terrence Williams, also known as Gangster, who claims to be Baby and Slim's half-brother, was running the streets at an early age. He came up under stone cold killers from the Magnolias such as Eric Maurice and a guy by the name of Blackie Mo. Older guys in the neighborhood began calling Terrence Baby Gangster. After putting in so much work, he removed Baby from his name and went by Gangster. By the age of 18, Gangster allegedly had 7 to 8 bodies and was arrested for murder 6 times before pleading guilty to attempt of murder in 1993. Gangster was feared throughout New Orleans. He started a deadly street crew by the name of the Hot Boys. The Hot Boys were making a lot of money robbing people and dealing heroin. They all drove nice vehicles and dressed sharp. The crew attracted drug dealers, users, females, stick-up kids, and even the cops. Whenever the Hot Boys came around, something was bound to happen. Before Lil Wayne left the label, him along with BG formed a duo by the name of the Bee Gees. BG was forced to be a solo artist, and in 1996, he released his debut album Chopper City. Chopper City was another underground classic. Around this time, Baby had met a 15-year-old Turk at a block party. Baby was no longer dealing drugs. Him and Slim took Cash Money Records very serious. They refused to jeopardize the company. Around this time, Master P and No Limit Records were on top. They were dropping albums every month. The label had an 80-20 distribution deal with Priority Records and got complete ownership of their masters. A deal like this was unheard of at the time. Baby and Slim were looking for a similar deal. In 1996, Baby's father was killed in a car accident. This made Baby and Slim want to go even harder. They continued searching for a distribution deal. Around this time, the Magnolia and the Calliope projects were at war with each other. Bodies began dropping on both sides. Master P's cousin Randall Watts, also known as Calliope Slim, was allegedly a stone cold killer from the Calliope projects. Randall was allegedly a notorious hitman who ran the Calliope projects. Randall had a large crew of killers behind him as well. The Calliope had the Magnolia and other projects outnumbered. The Hot Boy crew were the only people from the Magnolia who went to war with the Calliope. It all allegedly started over a drug deal that went wrong and cost 2 people from the Calliope their lives. The Hot Boys continued hanging out in the Calliope. One day, while Hot Boy member Mosquito was hanging out in the Calliope projects, Randall allegedly shot him over 20 times in broad daylight. The other Hot Boy members wanted revenge. In the summer of '97, Randall was shot and killed outside a nearby bar. He was hit over 20 times, just like Hot Boy Mosquito. People from the Calliope wanted Gangster and the Hot Boys dead. Right after Randall was killed, the Calliope crew went straight to the Magnolia projects looking for the Hot Boys. Even Master P wanted revenge for his cousin. He allegedly put out a $100,000 hit on Gangster. This made Gangster want to kill Master P. According to Gangster, he began driving around the Calliope projects looking for Master P. The war between the Magnolia and the Calliope continued. Baby and Slim almost lands a deal with Priority Records, the label No Limit Records was signed to at the time. Master P convinces Priority not to sign Cash Money. Baby and Slim didn't give up. Juvenile Soldier Rag's album was released in May of '97. The single Soldier Rags was a minor hit. It was one of Cash Money's first music videos. Juvenile was becoming a star. Cash Money Records released another local classic in '97 as well. Magnolia Shorty was the second female artist signed to Cash Money. Her 1997 debut album titled Monkey on the D was huge in New Orleans and is considered a bounce classic. Cash Money was doing really good being independent. Cash Money often went on tours around the South. That's how they built such a huge fan base. In each city, Baby and Slim would sell their artists' cassette tapes. Gangster and the Hot Boy crew went on tour with Cash Money. The Hot Boys were still heavy in the streets. Gangster allegedly used the tour bus to traffic heroin. The Cash Money roster began getting smaller. Several artists wanted out their contract. UNLV didn't want to be a part of Cash Money anymore due to unpaid royalties. One night in the Melf Projects, Yellow Boy and Baby had allegedly gotten into a physical altercation over the group's royalty money. Yellow Boy decided not to deal with the courts. He took matters in his own hands. Shortly after, Yellow Boy allegedly shot up Baby's house. On April 5th of 1997, Yellow Boy was shot and killed during a suspected drug deal gone bad. He was 22 years old. Around this time, Lil Wayne had returned to Cash Money Records after his stepfather Rabbit was shot and killed. Baby and Slim both became father figures in Wayne's life. Wayne began hanging around more. He became close to the other young Cash Money artists. Around this time, the Hot Boys group was formed. The group name come from Gangster and his crew. BG, Juvenile, Turk, and Lil Wayne were the group members. They began recording their debut album, titled Get It How You Live. The album was released in October of '97. In March of 1998, days before Cash Money signed the deal with Universal Records, Terrence "Gangsta" Williams get arrested for engaging in a continuing criminal enterprise and solicitation for murder. He was later sentenced to life in prison. Gangster stayed in touch with Baby and Slim. They often sent him money. Terrence "Gangsta" Williams and the Hot Boy crew were allegedly responsible for almost 100 murders in New Orleans. Every member in the crew was allegedly a stone-cold killer. In 1998, Cash Money signed a $30 million deal with Universal Records. After all the blood, sweat, and tears, the Williams brothers had finally made it. It was no turning back now. It was time for the world to meet Cash Money Records. On November 3, 1998, Juvenile released the classic album 400 Degrees. The album peaked at number 9 on the US Billboard 200 and 2 on the US Top R&B Hip Hop albums. 400 Degrees was certified 4-time platinum. With the hit singles Hat and Back That Ass Up, the album took off and opened the door for Cash Money. Baby and other Cash Money artists such as BG, Turk, and Lil Wayne began kissing each other in the mouth. According to Turk, that's how the crew showed each other love. Master P announced his retirement early '98. He said that The Last Don would be his last album. Master P was ready to focus on his basketball career. 1998 was No Limit Records' last big run. In 1999, No Limit began fading away slowly. That's when Cash Money pretty much took over. Turk and BG couldn't kick their heroin addiction. Both Baby and Slim tried to help as much as they possibly could. BG and Turk were becoming hard to work with. The two were influenced by New Orleans rapper Magnolia Slim, who rapped about snorting heroin. BG and Turk had a lot in common. They were really close. They often hung out together in the streets and had each other backs. 1999 was a huge year for Cash Money Records. Everything they released went platinum or better. In December of 2000, Cash Money released the film Baller Blocking. The movie is now considered a hood classic. In 2000, Baby and Slim signed West Coast rapper Mac 10. This is around the time Juvenile left the label over contractual disputes. BG left shortly after as well for the same reason. Rumors began spreading about Baby's sexuality after him and Lil Wayne were seen kissing on Rap City The Basement and on 106 in Park. Baby and other Cash Money artists even tattooed each other names and faces on their bodies. The bisexual rumors didn't stop the label one bit. Baby and Slim continued signing new artists. Cash Money wasn't the same without Juvenile and BG. They were the label's biggest stars. Lil Wayne's last two albums basically flopped. The Block is Hot was Lil Wayne's most successful album at the time. On June 5, 2001, Turk released his debut album titled Young and Thugging. The album peaked at number 9 on the Billboard 200 and number 2 on the top R&B hip-hop albums. Young and Thugging sold over 600,000 copies and is considered a classic by many fans. Turk left Cash Money Records shortly after over unpaid royalties for recordings dating back to 1997. Turk, BG, and Juvenile all began doing their own thing. With Juvenile, BG, and Turk gone, many thought that it was over for Cash Money. Lil Wayne was no longer a platinum-selling artist and Mac 10 was no longer signed to the label. On April 30, 2002, the Big Timers released their fourth studio album Hood Rich. The album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and was certified platinum. Cash Money was climbing back to the top. On November 26, 2002, Baby released his debut studio album titled Birdman. The album was certified gold 2 months later. In 2003, Baby and Slim decided to bring Juvenile back to the label. They worked out a one-album deal, and on December 23, 2003, Juvenile released his 6th studio album titled Juve the Great. The album peaked number 24 on the US Billboard 200 and 4 on the US Top R&B Hip Hop Albums Billboard. Months later, the album was certified platinum. In 2003, the Big Timers released their 5th and final studio album, Big Money Heavyweight. The album debuted at number 21 on the Billboard 200 and sold over 100,000 copies in the first week. Juvenile's Juve the Great album was the label's only platinum album since the Big Timers' 2002 album Hood Rich. Juvenile left the label once again. Juvenile, Turk, and BG all began to sing Cash Money Records. In 2002, the Charlotte Hornets relocated the franchise to New Orleans. Baron Davis was the team's franchise player at the time. While living in New Orleans, Davis and his family become close friends with Lil Wayne and his crew. Baron Davis' brother, known as Term, was allegedly a member of the Mob Piru Blood set. The same set Suge Knight and rapper Tupac were in. Lil Wayne and his crew would eventually join the Mob Piru set, and Baby and his crew would immediately do the same. Baby was already feared in New Orleans due to his affiliation with the original Hot Boy crew. Terrence Gangsta Williams is allegedly Baby's half-brother. Gangsta was born a Williams, which means his mother's a Williams. Gangsta's siblings all has the last name Williams. Johnny and Gangsta's mother wasn't married, so some people don't believe that Baby and Gangsta are really related. Either way, they called each other brothers for years and had each other backs. Every original Hot Boy member that was alive at the time were Baby's muscle. Bezo and Killer Stone were Baby's top hitters. The two are seen in most of Cash Money early videos. Baby and Slim signed Philadelphia rapper Gilly the Kid. Gilly the Kid became a ghostwriter for Cash Money, He written a lot of lyrics for Baby and claimed he written lyrics for Lil Wayne during the making of the Carter. Things wasn't looking too good for Cash Money. Juvenile, BG, and Turk were all gone. Most of their new artists were all gone as well. The Big Timers was Cash Money's biggest artists at the time. It was time for Lil Wayne to step up. He began recording his fourth studio album, The Carter. This was a new Lil Wayne. His flow and lyrics were now on a different level. The Carter was released on June 29, 2004. It debuted at number 5 on the US Billboard 200 chart, selling over 100,000 copies in its first week and went platinum. Cash Money was now back on top. In 2005, Mannie Fresh leaves Cash Money over financial reasons. The label lost their in-house producer who gave them their signature sound. Losing Mannie Fresh was a blessing in disguise. It was time for a new sound. Lil Wayne began working with other producers such as Cool and Dre, The Runners, The Heat Makers, and other new producers. He began recording The Carter 2. The album was released on December 6, 2005 and went double platinum. Lil Wayne became the biggest rapper in the game at that point of time. He began dropping mixtape after mixtape and jumping on numerous features. On Halloween of 2007, Baby and Lil Wayne released an album together titled Like Father Like Son, which was certified gold. That following year, Birdman released his third studio album, stardom. The album debuted at number 18 on the US Billboard 200 and sold over 400,000 copies. On June 10, 2008, Lil Wayne released Cash Money Records' biggest album, The Carter 3, which debuted at number 1 on the US Billboard 200 chart. The album went platinum in its first week and was later certified 8 times platinum. Lil Wayne was now considered as the GOAT to many young hip-hop fans. He gave birth to a new style of hip-hop. Cash Money was now the number 1 rap label. In 2009, Lil Wayne started his own record label by the name of Young Money Entertainment and signed a bunch of artists including Nicki Minaj and Drake. Young Money Entertainment was under Cash Money and Universal Motown Records. Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, and Drake were 3 of the biggest rappers in the game. Drake's debut album went double platinum in Canada and platinum in the US. Nicki's debut album went triple platinum. Drake's second album, Take Care, was certified 6 times platinum, and Nicki's sophomore album went double platinum. Cash Money was now a billion-dollar record company. Most of the artists who left Cash Money didn't have any success on their own. BG and Turk both went to prison. Juvenile's last 4 albums flopped, and Mannie Fresh was no longer relevant. Cash Money's first artist, Kilo G, was shot and killed back in 1997, and in 2010, Magnolia Shorty was shot and killed. She was shot 26 times. Baby and other Cash Money artists came to her funeral to pay their respect. In 2013, Lil Wayne wanted out Cash Money. He later announced a $51 million lawsuit against the label. This was the ending of Baby and Lil Wayne's relationship. Baby hooked up with Atlanta rappers Young Thug and Rich Homie Quan. In the summer of 2014, they released the hit single Lifestyle. The single peaked at number 16 on the Billboard Hot 100 and 4 on the US Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs. Lifestyle went certified platinum. Lil Wayne began to sing Baby and Cash Money during his shows. Baby fired back by letting Young Thug name his mixtape album The Carter 6, and even one time throwing a cup at Lil Wayne at one of his shows. Around this time, Lil Wayne's tour bus was shot up by one of Birdman and Young Thug's associates. Luckily, no one was hurt, and a guy by the name of Jimmy Winfrey was later arrested and charged for the shooting. Winfrey was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Baby allegedly began dating singer Toni Braxton in 2010 on and off, and the two got engaged in 2018. Baby reportedly spent $5 million on Braxton's engagement ring. In 2016, he bought her a $250,000 Bentley SUV. For years, Toni Braxton was allegedly spoiled by Baby. Shortly after the engagement, Toni Braxton loses the $5 million ring when her luggage was lost at the airport. The couple's relationship seemed fake to outsiders. Their wedding date been getting pushed back for years. Baby bought a $14 million mansion in the upscale gated community of Palm Island back in 2012. Baby later began feuding with Miami rappers Rick Ross and Trick Daddy. Trick Daddy got on the radio and claimed that Baby had a boyfriend, and Rick Ross didn't like the way Baby treated Lil Wayne. He even made a few diss songs attacking Baby. In April of 2016, Baby and his crew came on The Breakfast Club to warn the host to stop playing with his name. On October of 2017, Baby had enough. He gets on Instagram and basically threatened Rick Ross and Trick Daddy.
Right? I be hearing all you niggas talking about this Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne, this Lil Wayne, that. Lil Wayne, my son, I raised him. He ain't had nothing. I brought him to be something. Ain't got something. Bitch, you think I ain't gonna make sure he's straight? Suck a nigga. I'm show all you pussy niggas that ever got in my business. I'm gonna show you, don't play with me, nigga. I'm what you call a real mastermind, you little bitty bitch. You heard me? And if you cross my line, you already know. I ain't even gotta tell you. Man, I could go down the ladder on these ass niggas playing with my name. Nigga, y'all hoes been gonna die. Who made you? Nigga, I hope your mammy died playing with me. In the can ass nigga. Nigga, I'm the realest nigga that ever did this rap music. Put niggas on, got rich, made other niggas rich and got richer and richer. You nigga. Fuck you. You dig what I'm. I hope your mammy died playing with me, bitch. Really, I come from the slums with my round. You heard me?
Oh, they know what it is.
Slums with my round. It's original. All that hot boy. That's who started this shit. Come from the streets. Hot boys come from the streets, and I turned it into a group name. There was some real niggas in the streets doing real things. You from New Orleans, you don't know. If you put niggas in from another state, I be hearing y'all, seeing y'all. Says nigga don't even know the half. So shut the fuck. Stay over there with that whole. Y'all really ain't about no murder talk. So y'all gonna stay with, you know, you ain't got this social shit. So y'all gonna slang words from a distance.
By 2018, Drake and Nicki Minaj had both decided to leave Cash Money and Young Money Records. Drake began focusing on his record label by the name of OVO Sound. That same year, Lil Wayne settled the $51 million lawsuit against Cash Money Records out of court for an undisclosed amount. On June 7, 2018, it was announced that Lil Wayne was released from Cash Money Records, and on September 28th of that year, Lil Wayne finally released the Carter 5 under Young Money and Republic Records. The album went double platinum. Just like Sean Puffy Combs, throughout the years, Baby been accused of doing bad business. Not one original Cash Money artist is still on the label. Birdman's net worth is estimated at $150 million. Since 1998, the world watched him stunt. He introduced the world to several legendary artists such as Juvenile, BG, Drake, Nicki Minaj, and Lil Wayne. Cash Money sold more records than any hip-hop label in history. Well, this was the Birdman Story. Thank you for watching. See you guys next time. Be blessed and stay safe.